Okay, so we want to put up some examples of the Smithsonian talking about whiteness and white culture. It says it puts too much of an emphasis on individualism, hard work, objectivity, the nuclear family, progress, respect for authority, delayed gratification, and more. Charlie, it says, those are themes that white culture has accepted as the ones to pursue. And because of that, it's become the dominant culture for the entire country. I'm not so sure they're saying that it's negative, but they're certainly pointing out that it's something that is about whiteness. What do you make of this?
Well, I think it's incredibly racist and divisive to try to attribute things that are applicable to all human beings by a specific race. I mean, you look at the Black History Museum, of which this was the page on their website. Conveniently, they don't have Clarence Thomas as part of their museum, which is just very interesting because he happens to be one of the few conservative black individuals that are outspoken in today's times. And you look at this pamphlet, and it's a complete and total misrepresentation. For example, hard work, delayed gratification, the scientific method. You look throughout history. How about George Washington Carver, a black individual who discovered the peanut, one of the most incredible scientists in world history, if not American history? I think he believed in the scientific method. I don't think that was a construct of whiteness. Delayed gratification. How about Michael Jordan, who was probably one of the hardest working athletes of the last couple decades? I think he believed in delayed gratification, those extra nights he put in to have an incredible sports career, probably one of the best in NBA history, if not the best. Finally, how about Oprah Winfrey, a multi-billionaire woman who, of course, believed in hard work, rugged individualism, pulling herself up by the bootstraps? All these things are supposed to be a construct of whiteness. If this is even a conversation in our country, this is divisive. This is designed to turn people against each other, and it's anti-history, it's anti-science. I'm repulsed that our taxpayer dollars are funding this nonsense and this garbage.
Well, one of the reactions on Twitter was this: defeat white culture by being lazy, intolerant, and hasty. This has to be a 4chan op, right? This is so racist, referring to this stuff at the Smithsonian. This is so racist to people of color, I don't even know where to start. What do you make of it, Leslie?
Well, first of all, I find it interesting that Charlie mentioned Oprah Winfrey and Michael Jordan, because they're two people that have been, as of late, very outspoken regarding the Black Lives Matter movement, which, as we know, is a movement not just by blacks or people of color, but by whites as well, who are crying out regarding racial injustice. Now, as a white woman, did I ever have difficulty in my life? Absolutely. Did I ever have to work really hard? Absolutely. Do I remember my mother having to use food stamps? Absolutely. The difference is that when I wake up in the morning, or Charlie for that matter, being a Caucasian male, we don't have to think about our race added into all those elements of our daily life. Oprah Winfrey had to, and still does. Michael Jordan, any person of color does. So the difference is, a white person, and this is what white privilege is about, a white person doesn't have to take their color into consideration when they do things, when they make choices, when they go for a job interview, for example, when the blue lights go off in their rear view mirror. And certainly people of color do. So I think it's very valid when you look at all of the information there in that museum regarding this, and you look at it within context, and you look at its entirety and not just pieces of it. I don't find it racist. I find it reality.
Charlie, so is the context of what is being presented here important?
Well, look, Leslie, I have to be honest. I always consider to be very reasonable. Not anymore after what you just said. I mean, for you to try to say that what is being presented here should be attributed to any sort of racial group is incredibly racist. I let you finish. I let you finish your nonsense. Let me finish my facts, because if we even entertain this incredibly pernicious idea that hard work, the family, the scientific method, going to church and doing the right thing is an attribute of a skin color, then you are the racist. Okay? You're the one that is trying to advance racial division. I believe in the American ethos. E pluribus unum, out of many one. I don't think this is a white attribute or a black attribute. I think this is a human being success, flourishing attribute. I cannot believe that someone would defend something like this.
Looking broadly at character, ordering your subordinates to lie, cheating on your wife with a porn star, would you say that's unbecoming of someone with a good character?
I think we as human beings are getting in a really dangerous road when we start to say, I'm a better person than another person, because I would never do this, I would never do that. First among us without sin should cast the first stone. If he commits a crime, that's different. What?
You are better than some people. I mean, obviously, you look at some behavioral aspects, and you can consider yourself.
So let me ask a question. So here's a good question. Would you rather have Bush, who's never been accused of those things, who then did everything different than what he promised, put us in a $7 trillion reckless war, borrowed $8 trillion we didn't have, Medicare Part D, grew every aspect of government, but he was really good, right? Loyal to his wife, never accused of that stuff. Or would you rather have Trump, who has a very entertaining past, or has done everything he said he's going to do and put forth the policies? That's why I think the argument is superfluous, and it actually takes more courage, it takes more moral clarity and character to say, hold on, before I do anything else, on this issue, what did I tell people I was going to do? That's how he always thinks. Always thinks. With the embassy. He said, how many, he said, I promised this publicly, didn't I? He asked his advisors, he said, yes, Mr. President. He said, well, that's what I'm going to do. And that's a sign of morality to me. That's a sign of commitment to promises, because if you're all of a sudden like, well, now I'm in power and I can start to move things around and come up with an explanation and not do this, it would have been really easy for him not to cancel the Iran deal. Like, he got nothing but horrible blowback for that, which, by the way, is one of the worst deals ever created, ever. So that's where I'm pushing back on this. So the final example, and I'll go to the next question. I'll use this metaphor. Oh, no. We could go forever. So, okay. America was drowning in the middle of an ocean. Let's use this metaphor. Drowning. And under Republican presidents and Democrat presidents, we were in need of something to pull us out of it. All of a sudden, a lifeboat comes around, and a lifesaver pulls America out. I don't care what that lifesaver has done in his past life. I don't care if he tweeted that morning, and I don't care if he's going to tweet after. I care that we're breathing again, that we're not drowning, and that we're on the path to success back to the mainland. That's how I view Donald Trump. He's the lifesaver that has pulled this country out of a drowning, floundering abyss.
On this, look, do the Republicans risk Trump going in there, the whole situation exploding further, and then Trump getting blamed? If you break it and you don't fix it, you own it.
It's a great question. I'm of the opinion that you have to do what is right. Not always necessarily if you think it's going to help you in the poll numbers, if you think the cities are going to burn. And Chris, I think it's disgusting for you to call federal law enforcement officers jackbooted thugs, number one.
They're
number
not.
two, how about you address Elon Omar? How about you call Elon? Let me finish. I let you say your nonsense. Let me say my facts. Elon Omar said we can always rebuild our communities. What we can't rebuild is the protest moment we have here. How about the Massachusetts Attorney General, who basically qualified and said that, well, I think that we need to, and I'm paraphrasing here, give space to the people to be able to destroy. Chris, you're using some sort of revisionist history that the Democrats have been declarative, and they've been out front saying that there's something wrong with destroying. That is not true at all whatsoever. And President Trump is standing up heroically and bringing in federal law enforcement because he cares about the cities in our country that the Democrats have destroyed. Your party owns these cities, Chris. When was the last time a Republican was a mayor of Chicago? 1932.
If he cared about
these
Chicago,
cities, and Trump is fixing them.
He would get real gun policy in America. If he cared about Chicago, Charlie, he would have real gun policy in America so that the streets of Chicago would be flooded from
gun laws in the country, Chris. I am from the suburbs of Chicago. It's the strictest gun laws in the country.
Even with that haircut, it is true that we see what's going on.
Well, Chris, at least I have some hair.
So
okay.
guys,
I wish I had your hair. I'm jealous. Trust me.
Okay, guys.
I know.
We don't have to.
Christians have grown complacent because we've been the predominant religion and the predominant viewpoint over the last 50 or 60 years in America, especially post-World War II order. That's changing.
Yeah.
Leftism and atheism are the top viewpoints and religions in America.
You are talking about this upcoming election. That's what you're describing. A massive collision.
A cataclysmic collision.
Like never before in our nation.
And if the Christian worldview, which is one of a vertical relationship with a creator, natural rights, if we lose, all of a sudden we're going to have not impartial judges, we're going to have activist judges. Yeah. We're going to have more funding going towards abortion. We are going to have continual open
borders, but Second Amendment removed. So you can't protect yourself, you'll be a sitting
duck. You can go through the entire litany. And look, Christianity has withstood unbelievable opposition over the last 2,000 years.
Absolutely.
And young Christians in particular are not taught the bloodshed that went into the defense of the Christian faith against the siege of Constantinople for hundreds of years against essentially Islamist conquerors.
That's absolutely true.
And the protection of the Eastern Roman Empire, or King Justinian enforcing the Justinian Code. This only happened when you stood for truth and conviction and clarity. And I'm telling you, what's happening right now in America is if we can continue to activate the churches, and that's why, Jack, I have appreciation for you, because the weakness and the apathy among some of these pastors that want to be cool, calm, cool, and collected in their skinny jeans.
Cool's
going to they want to be one with the people, and they want to be, oh yeah, I want to be loved. Like you were never put into a pastor position to become the most popular person in the culture. You got to stand for truth and sometimes say things that make people uncomfortable. And Jack, when I look at your sermons,
truth will do that.
I say that's someone who cares more about standing for truth than just getting the most amount of retweets amongst the young hip crowd in their local community.
Why is a billionaire from New York who came down from an escalator, who was three times married and twice divorced, the most pro-life president in American history? Why is it that it took a billionaire from New York who was formerly a Planned Parenthood donating Democrat to put Gorsuch and Kavanaugh and 200 circuit court judges on the Supreme Court? Why is it that a guy that never served before in American politics was able to renegotiate NAFTA, get us out of the WTO, tell the WHO to go pound sand, tell the UN to go pound sand, renegotiate NATO altogether, get us out of the JCPOA, make sure those billions of dollars we sent Iran are not going there anymore, move the embassy to Jerusalem, recognize the Golan Heights, deregulate the American economy, make us energy independent, finally build the wall? Why is it that guy did it? It's because every single other person that preceded him besides President Reagan was part of the problem. They were part of the very same community of people that were Ivy League educated, said one thing and did another, were part of the ruling class that protected the agency, protected the Bureau, protected the DOJ. And as long as you said the right things and kept the deficits going, raised the taxes, deteriorated the industrial base, boosted Wall Street profits, kept the borders wide open so that we could have foreign nationals domiciling in our country that do not share our values, eventually get benefits, their kids can vote against our own values, then things will be just fine. Why is it that this guy is different? It's because unlike any other president, he could have been in the ruling class. He said no thanks. He had enough money to be in the ruling class. He's got more money than James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, Smirk, his lover Lisa Page, and the person who probably published his book combined and multiplied times 100. He's the only president in modern history to have his own plane and actually go to probably a smaller plane when he becomes president of the United States. He's one of the only presidents that was a best-selling author, #1 TV show on The Apprentice, NBC, literally was in every single rap song, was glamorized. President Barack Obama said the American dream is to be what? Is to be Donald Trump. That's what he said the American dream was. Why is it that this guy's all of a sudden the populist hero? He's supposed to be part of the ruling class. It's because he's a defector from it. It's because he was in the dinners, he was in the cocktail parties, he heard the language, he heard the contempt that the ruling class, the Wall Street financiers, the Washington, D.C. lobbyists, and the Silicon Valley elites that he had to be around. He knew the contempt that they had for the plumber, electrician, the carpenter, the bricklayer, and the person building the very same building that he was financing. So he took the woman rink mentality, the philosophy that built that woman rink quicker and better than anyone could have imagined, despite the New York City bureaucracy and the municipal burdensome rules. And he said, I'm going to bring this to Washington, D.C., and I'm actually going to do something that a politician has never done before. I'm going to tell you the truth, no matter how brutal and honest it is. I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. From the time he went down the escalator, he was the only person running for office that talked about China immigration, the two issues that are most affecting our country now. How was this possible? Because he listened to the very people the ruling class hated. He would walk a job site, and he would ask them, what's on your mind? He says, man, I'm really worried that we're getting taken over by China. I'm really worried that we're getting too many people in this country. I'm worried I can't pay for health care. He internalized it. That's what a populist is. It's someone who listens to the people. So what makes President Trump different? This is a president who didn't need his job. He's the only president in American history who's going to be poorer after becoming president than before. He's not going to sign a book deal big enough to possibly make up for the gains. His son, investigated by every single authority imaginable, from Bob Mueller to the House Intelligence Committee to Adam Schiff to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, after being set up for that very same meeting. His businesses audited and currently under criminal investigation by the New York Attorney General for no reason and no grounding further. His other son, Eric Trump, his charity gets shut down for self-dealing despite no evidence at all. He just wants to give treatment to cancer kids, St. Jude's Hospital. His 11-year-old son, under constant and daily attacks for just existing as a teenager or early, a 12 or 13-year-old in this society. How dare he live? He's the only person that will be more damaged materially, philosophically, and morally. Every other president ends up better on the back end. They end up being able to write their stoic journal and drama and being better respected. This guy is a vessel for us. A vessel for those of us that have nothing but resentment for the kingdom of Washington, D.C. The type of people that think everything is just perfectly fine because we just built a Hermes. Hermes is now in Reston, Virginia. Don't you know? Louis Vuitton's in Fairfax County, everybody. Things are great. Didn't you know that we literally have Dolce & Gabbana now in Georgetown? Things must be wonderful. You go into Washington, D.C., the cranes are as far as you can possibly see. The construction cranes, they're trying to rebuild the Parthenon, the Giza pyramids quicker than anything I've ever seen. It's more construction happening in D.C. perpetually. Why? It's the only place in America. This is why 8 out of 10 of the wealthiest counties in America are around Washington, D.C. It's the only place in America where they get richer at gunpoint. They have a multi-trillion-dollar cash flow happening into their center, into their power structure every single year, not because we want it. If Chicago and Minneapolis and Detroit, if people get rich there, they have to convince you to buy their products. Maybe it's manufacturing, maybe it's automobiles, maybe it's Best Buy, which is, of course, a Minneapolis company. But Washington, D.C. is different. They do it at gunpoint. This is why Trump is different, and that's why I wrote the book.